Welcome to the Winning in Business podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Rissy, and I love talking to business professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs who are winning in business. Are you ready to reach your next level of success? If so, join us on the Winning in Business podcast as I interview entrepreneurs, business professionals, and leaders who share how they've risen to success. Before we begin, go ahead, hit subscribe and the notification button so you'll be notified each time a new episode is released. Plug in and settle in. You're about to be inspired to rise up to your next level of success. Welcome back to another episode of Winning in Business. This is your podcast host, Kelly Rissy, owner of Rise Up and Live Wellness. And I am super excited to be here today interviewing my guest, Ken Smith. Ken, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Let me tell you a little bit about Ken. He's from New Jersey. You're going to hear the accent. I mean, I'm sure he thinks I have an accent, and you'll hear his in a minute. So let me tell you about Ken. Ken Smith is Senior Director of Safety, Training, and Development, and has 3 decades of experience in delivering learning and development, performance management, and talent management solutions. For the past 5 years, he has taken on an additional role leading the safety department for his organization. Ken is passionate about helping people learn and grow in their career and keeping them safe while doing it. He believes if you help people learn, grow, and win, they will help you learn, grow, and win too. Ken has a BS in psychology and a MS in instructional systems and adult education. He has worked for leading companies in business process outsourcing, human capital management, building materials distribution, and financial services. He has always been aligned with the business to create a differentiated client experience to deliver sales, operations, service, and safety excellence to improve performance, productivity, and profitability. Ken resides in New Jersey with his wife and best friend, Christine. He has 3 beautiful adult children, 2 that are starting out their own careers, and 1 in her junior year of college. And finally, Ken enjoys kayaking, hanging out at the lake in his community, participating in church activities, spending time with family, and cooking big Sunday dinners. If you would have bet Ken and his family when he was younger that he would be Senior Director of Safety, Training, and Development, they would have taken that bet, raised you by going all in, and had a good laugh at the time. It's funny how life turns out. And we're going to talk more about that funny story. So please join me in welcoming Ken Smith. So glad you're here today.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Yes, Ken and I met through LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to meet people that are in different parts of the country and even the world. So I love that.
Come a long way.
Yeah. So Ken, tell us, you told us a little bit just briefly about, what you do. So how did you get into all of this? Safety. I kept hearing the word safety. Safety is the big thing. So how did you get into all this?
It's kind of a funny story how I ended up. And, the joke about my mom, we would have a good laugh if she was still here today. As a kid, I'll start really quick. Just as a kid, I was clumsy. I was always getting injured. I remember my first Huffy bike. I'm dating myself with the pancakes, right? And I got that handbrake, and my mom said, "Don't race with your friends until you get used to the brakes." And so, what do? Growing up in the city, I get on my nice new black Huffy, and there I goes. We're saying, "Let's race down telephone pole to telephone pole." That's what you do. It's the same thing in stickball. And there I was going fast and fast. And then all of a sudden I pressed the brake, and guess what? I pressed the front brake and I tumbled over, was a mess, had scars still there to this day. So, and it didn't stop there. As I played sports, I had 6 concussions. I had a pinched nerve, a broken wrist, and I was always getting hurt. And then, for school, I was always a 2.0 student. I really wasn't interested. I come from a family of union workers, longshoremen, electricians, iron workers. And I thought my life was a life of labor, but my mom had nothing to do with that. And she said, "Ken, you going to college?" So here I go off to college, and it wasn't for me. I joined a fraternity and dropped out within 2 years. So thank Animal House. But it was one of those times, back in the day, there was no accountability, and I'll get to that later on. But as I continued, I got into the family business. My mom got remarried. Stepfather was a landscaper. and I found my purpose. I was like, oh, wow, I love this. I love the landscape, and I got my pesticide license. I started learning how to do landscape design. I started climbing trees, and there I was. I was 40 feet up in the air. We had a dead tree. We were trying to tie the rope and pull it away from the house so it wouldn't fall on the house. Thank God I had fall protection, had a rope around the tree, but I had these telephone spikes. You used to see the old telephone people climbing up. So I didn't stop thinking act. I was too much in a rush to get down. I thought I had my foot in it, and boom, it didn't go. So I fell 40 feet straight down, jarred my back, 3 herniated discs. From there, as you can see, learning and growing and safety wasn't for me. I was going to the doctors on and off. And then the doctor said to me, Ken, you can make me a rich man, or you can make yourself rich. Go back to college. And so those words hit me hard. And so I was really lost for a little bit. I decided to enroll in a community college, took a psychology course, and the professor there was fantastic. She took me under her wing. She asked me about my story, and she got me really interested in human behavior, because I wasn't never interested in it. I was never holding myself accountable. I was just going through life. And she got me really excited. Then I went to university. I transferred into a university, and I graduated with honors. Now here's someone with a 2.0. I graduated with an honors in BS in psychology. And at East Stroudsburg was my Dr. Tancredi. I'm not going to name too many people, but I'm going to name 2. He was very instrumental. He got me into the passion of how to learn. He really taught, because I had a little bit of a learning disability, and he helped me. He helped me through it. And I just had this passion. He got me into Penn State education, psychology. PhD wasn't for me, so I had some credits, and I went into instructional systems and adult education, and I got my MS, and I graduated again with honors. And there, Dr. Frank Dwyer, who I absolutely love, really taught me. He wasn't just a professor, he had business experience. And he taught me, if you're going into the corporate world in terms of training and development, you really have to be aligned with the business. And through his support and his guidance, I wound up getting my first job. Right now, we'll fast forward, right? So now here's a kid that wasn't really good at safety and learning, and here he is, first into learning. So my first 10 years in my career, I worked for a major human capital management company and payroll service company. And that's where I really got the love for instructional design. I did customer service training, account executive training. I learned technology. Back then in the mid 90s, we see MS Teams, Zoom. I implemented Centra, one of the first video training tools. And I implemented that for the company with my team. And we implemented our first virtual client training class. And I was the first one to deliver it. And it was so cool back then. And here we are 20 years later. So then I got into developing online learning. We rolled out the first online learning with their first internet payroll product. And from there, I just got engaged with learning and development. I got into financial advisors. I started learning about sales. Then I transitioned into my first 10 years were really focused on learning about instructional design and my business acumen, all aspects of it. Then I fast forward, I got into my first role in management. I went back to financial services, and I spent about the next 7 years there. And I got my first leadership job, my management job. And my mentor at the time sat me down and says, Ken, do you want to be a doer, or do you want to be a leader? And I said, I want to be a leader. I was a little nervous. I didn't know where this conversation was going. She said, I can make it either way happen. What do you want to do? Because I put you in this role to help others learn and grow, but you're doing all the work for them. As a leader, your goal is to help other people learn and grow, become your peer or better than you. That hit me hard. And I focused on management. From then on, I read all the books, got into it. Then I transitioned into director of sales management development. I got into some sales management development. So I was learning about all aspects of the business. I even got into a distribution company for interior, exterior building materials, where I was learning to build it from scratch. So I worked for all these major companies, and this company was a great company. I love this company. It was kind of a family-owned business, but it was big. It was 5,000 employees. From there, I built up the learning and development group that didn't have a training program there. So I built that up. I implemented my first on my own with my team, learning management system, the employee development university. Then it expanded into performance management, talent management, and then I weaved them all together, which was key because now we had succession planning, training planning, we were all tied together. And then I transitioned to my current role, continued in the training, and then we were expanding we're an outsourcing company where we were focusing on mail, and we transitioned to warehouse and distribution services, and we needed safety direction. So we had some issues with filling those positions, and I said, I have some experience from my distribution world, give it to me. And my director, who I work for today, is great mentor, is a great coach, and gave me the opportunity. With her guidance, we hired a team and we implemented it, and now we're one of the leading safety programs for the outsourcing industry in our industry. So it's been a long road. It's kind of come full circle, where a kid who hasn't been able, who wasn't good at learning, was always getting hurt. It was kind of, I had to prove myself wrong that I could do it. So that's a long story, but I just
yeah, I love that. From all the flying over the handlebars, falling out of trees, now you're in safety. So that's great. Okay, so what then do you feel like, and thank you for sharing all of your success and all the things that you have done. I mean, I know that when we talked, you are such an instrumental part of developing, implementing all the trainings that, throughout your career. So what are some of the big ahas that you want to share that you feel like have made you successful? You already shared a couple golden nuggets already. Yeah. So I love the one about, do you want to be a doer or a leader? Because I think that's so important when it comes time for leaders to delegate, I mean, and I have a lot of business owners that listen to this podcast as well. And you have to know, as a business owner, when it's time to let go and start delegating, and being that leader.
That was the hardest thing. I'll add that one to it. The hardest thing for me, as going from an individual contributor that really built up his portfolio and was doing well, to then letting that go was like, no, I don't want to let that go. I want to hold it close to my heart, because that's what got me to where I was and got me promoted, right? And most people get promoted because they're good at something. And I was lucky and fortunate enough, and this will be my first one, is my informal mentors, right? They helped guide me. They sat me down and had that conversation with me and say, do you want to be a doer or do you want to be a leader? Now let's talk about that. I can help you be both. And that was important. She was my director, but I always formed those informal relationships with people. And I'll call it mentorship, because she was mentoring me as she was managing me too. And I would go to other people, and then I would look at, whenever I'm not good at something, if I'm not good at managing people or delegating, I'll go talk to someone that's good at delegating. I'll see them delegate. I'll say, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? I'll have to provide some value to them and get to know them, but I'll go out and ask them and say, I'm struggling with that, and I see that you're good at X. Can you help me? And people, true leaders aren't going to say no, right? Their goal, whether you're on their team, in their department, outside the organization, they're going to help you if they really buy into what a true leader is. And that's helping and being of service to other people and helping them win. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
That was my first aha, is really that informal mentorship. Everything from, my graduate school, because I didn't have a father growing up. My parents were divorced, so I didn't have that male person in my house. I had a relationship with my dad, a good relationship, but it was missing, right? So I needed that direction. And as I got through, my mom gave it to me. I would seek out, whether it was men or women that had something that could help me, and I could help them, and we can develop this relationship where we could help each other learn and grow, right? Because that's what leaders do. They go forward and help others. The other big aha that I had was, I'll call it sticky, being sticky. And my team, first time I said it, what do you mean by being sticky? Think back, when I first got into financial services, I remember the strategy. If you sell 3+ products, right, you grow the relationship, you add more value, you make that relationship stronger. I said to myself, why can't I do that for myself? So if I look at my career, my first 10 years was to learn everything about instructional design, from virtual, online, instructional design, classroom, blended learning, all that stuff at the time, and then get into leadership and then figure out what else can I do, right? So that's my wheelhouse. But I got into performance management. Then I got into talent management, succession planning. I got into recruiting. I got into, a whole bunch of different things. I learned about the operations, the sales, compliance, and now safety later on, right? And here I am, almost 30 years, this will be my 30 years this year. 5 years ago, I was like, all right, what else can I do? Like I get bored easily. And so I got to challenge myself. And so I had that opportunity to say, hey, I have some experience. This is what I could do. And they believed in me. They trusted me. They guided me. They coached me. Nothing's all rosy. There are days, where I tripped, I stumbled, I fell. And nothing's an easy journey. It's not always up. It's a zigzag as you go through it. But that stickiness, I always think of it as that 3+ strategy. Your job, anybody's job, whether you're an entrepreneur or someone working a professional, is to add value and help others solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
The more problems you can help solve, the more value you bring to the table, the stronger the relationship comes. If I'm just sitting there doing my job, that's good and that's fine. Some people like that, but for me personally, I'm kind of just, I want to give as much as possible, which sometimes can get me in trouble.
Well, I feel like when you said really challenge yourself, I look at it, my thing is stress, right? And I look at optimal levels of stress. And if you are not challenging yourself, you truly, like, we can become bored human beings. You know what I mean? And then when you're bored, then you can fall into depression and then you're just bleh. And so there really does, like, we should be growing. And it's one of those things where, like you said, just knowing how much you can handle so that you don't go over to the other side where then you're overwhelmed, overstressed, too much. And yet challenging yourself in a way that now I'm ready to add the next layer of something else that I can know, you know what I mean? So that I can help people. And I think that's great. I feel like for me also, I am a, lifelong learner. You are a lifelong learner and I am a lifelong learner. And there's so many people that are that. And I love it. I can see you're passionate about it too, because just looking at your career, looking at all the things you do, and so you call that being sticky. I like that.
Yeah, I like it. It's you hear the term also, career stacking.
Yes.
Different skills and over, right? So you're not just staying at that line, you're always learning and growing and learning, especially in today's world, it's learning agility. But I like what you said earlier was about stress. And I'll be honest, I have people tell me, Ken, take a break, right? I love this. 3 things I love. I love being on the field coaching people in sports. I love working and I love being with my family and my church community, right? And so work-life balance for me is, doing that. And as long as I'm meeting those quadrants and satisfying, family and friends, that's the other thing. But it's, as long as I'm doing that, I'm happy. But sometimes work I get because it's almost like I'm trying to prove everybody wrong from when I was little that I couldn't learn, right?
Oh,
and
yes.
So I do get that. And about a month ago, I had to call timeout, right? Because I felt myself, my body chemistry, and I know, like, and we'll talk about challenges later on, but I know my body chemistry now where I feel uneasy. And I know I got to get to the gym. I got to go out for a walk in nature. I'm not doing my morning routines, whatever it may be, to find that balance to get it. And that's really important because anybody, it doesn't matter whether you're a leader or individual contributor, we can get, really involved with our work and kind of lose what's most important.
Yes.
So I may talk about with you later after this call on that.
Oh, great. That's great. Okay. So what else do you have for us? What other ahas?
The other aha is self-awareness.
Yes.
So, and part of that.
And you just talked about, I'm going to go back. I know you're going to expand on this too, but just the fact that you recognize body awareness,
Mhm.
you know, and how you feel, and you're like, hang on, I need a timeout. That right there, self-awareness, huge.
Yeah.
So keep going. I
Yeah,
love
I didn't
self-awareness.
always have that self-awareness. I sometimes, and I'll talk about that in the challenge about self-sabotaging. But the third one is self-awareness. And, throughout my whole life is people told me no when I was little about learning and growing, and you're going to be in the union and all this. And my mom had none of that. So I thank God for that. She pushed me there, and union's a good job. Trade's a great job. So I didn't mean in any way like that. But for me personally, I always am the hardest person on myself.
Mhm.
And, part of it, I always used to think it was perfection and all this. And, but for me, it was, after some of my challenges, which is my self-awareness saying, hey, you know what, you're not heading in the right direction. You need some of that assistance. I'm always thinking about what can I be doing differently to better, right? So what did I do well? And what's one
Mhm.
thing I can improve on? I always try to do that at the end of the day, right? Because if I can build on my strengths and, work on my opportunities, it's going to make me better and make an impact in other people's lives. And I'll give you one example. Probably about 6 years ago, I went to one of these strengths core programs, and where they identify your strengths. And one of them was my passion. And as you can see, I get very passionate. And sometimes when I'm in a room, it can intimidate people. And it's not intentional. And I wasn't aware of it until I went there. And as we were talking about it, and as I was interacting with the class, I began to see that my passion sometimes unintentionally can hurt other people, or make them be quiet. So I learned strategies of how to be better at maintaining my passion, calming my voice down, asking other people's opinion first before. And I even went back to my team and I said, this is how I am, right? This is me. And I'm the last one to respond now. Out of my team of 10 people, I'm the last one to respond. I want to hear everyone's opinions, because I do get passionate, and that sometimes can be, and that's the self-awareness. And so I picked up 100 books on different, I
Mhm.
love books. I have so many books, it's crazy. And I read them and I learn about it. And, Crucial Conversations the same way, because part of that, my passion can come out during Crucial Conversations. I read that. And so it's really just always be cognizant, and where I see myself, I'm always trying to learn, or talk to somebody, form that informal mentor. Even after 3 decades, I still go to people and say, hey, I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
Have 5 minutes, just go out to lunch, have a cup of coffee. I need some help.
Mhm.
And I think that makes people, I'm not authentic, real, whatever word
Yeah.
you like, real, but they respect that more. And I
Yes.
think that creates that psychological safety. Even my team, I'll say, this is me. This is who I am.
Yeah, I think that's what makes us authentic, right? And
Mhm.
when we can be vulnerable and be like, yeah, I am still working on this and need help,
Yep.
that makes us human.
Yeah, it does. And I write about that. A lot of my articles, people ask me, a lot of my articles on LinkedIn that I post, that I write, are really about notes to myself. It's
Mhm.
really
Yes.
reminders from my experience.
Yeah.
And it's about saying, hey, this is what I struggle with, and this
Mhm.
is what I go. So, it helps.
So you listed some of your challenges, and I always ask this question, because I feel like as professional, you are a professional, high level professional, whether you're business owners, entrepreneurs, we are all dealing with some challenges. So what do you feel like your challenges are that you currently deal with?
I think, something I've always struggled with in my entire career, my entire life, is that, they call it imposter syndrome, right? Am I good
Hmm.
enough? It's even like this call. When you first approach me, I'm like, oh, do I really want to do this? You call it reach out again. And I say, oh yeah, I love it. And,
Yeah.
so it's like building that trust in yourself and building confidence. And I think with experience, it took me a lot longer. Like, it took me longer to graduate when my friends were all graduated 5 years into their careers and married, and here I am getting just graduating undergraduate and then graduate school. But the challenge for me personally is that no, and there were times in my, there was bumps in the road, both personal and professional, where I needed help. And for a decade, I really worked on myself with a life coach, with therapy. with really just improving myself, because I wasn't used to holding myself accountable. And that's what a life coach or a therapist or whatever you do to help your mental well-being. Because at that time, years back, I had lost my mom to Alzheimer's, and that was difficult. That was a hard time making transitions, and just life in general, work, and it was, I needed help. And so, it's okay to ask for help. I mean, I think that's an important thing that, in society, I think it's more open today than it was in the past. If back in the day, if you were telling people, well, when I was growing up, you were going for help, they'd be look at you weird, like, what's wrong with you? But it's so important now that we work on ourselves, and that's what the life coach and the therapy really set me, because now I have a morning routine. Right. I listen to motivation tapes. I try to get to the gym almost at least 4 times a week. I do my spiritual, I do my readings, I write. And if I don't do that, then I'm a little off. And then I have breathing exercise and meditation exercises where when I do get that stress, I can just say, let me take 5 minutes. Let me get there. Let me picture I'm down Cape May at Sunset Beach. And I go through this whole breathing exercise and tapping exercise, and it's something works for me. And so that really transformed me over the last decade. That really helped me personally. And so that was a key for me.
I think that's so fantastic. I mean, and we talked about it. And I didn't even know you had a coach prior to us speaking, and I was like, oh, you've had coaches before. So, that was fabulous. And I think that just goes back to the bettering yourself, right? We can have a coach, a therapist, or whatever, for so many different reasons. And sometimes it's grief. Sometimes we need one to get through our grief. And that is so important. And mental health, as a speaker, I was just looking through a lot of the topics that like people are looking for right now as they're bringing in speakers and whatnot. And mental health and mindset is the big thing, right? Which is something that I feel like stress management like pulls right into and everything. But knowing that, like, looking at your life now that you have all of these routines and habits in place, and what I call a tool belt full of tools that you can use on yourself. I mean, isn't that like freeing and peaceful? And like, you just know that you have the resources that you need.
Yep.
And can you imagine, like, can you remember life before that?
Yeah. And, it's important to look back too. I don't think you can forget the past, because it's got to hold you honest too. You don't want to dwell on the past, and you want to build on it. And that's what the strategies help me, right? Because you have the stinking thinking, the tapes playing in your head. And strategies. I mean, my life now is great, where I used to, self-sabotage myself, and maybe it would take me a week, 2 weeks, a month to get out of it. Now it's an hour a day. Now, if I'm carrying it more than a day, that's pretty amazing nowadays. Because I've learned how to deal with it. It's life. Everyone goes through different versions of it, but we all go through the same thing, and we can identify with each other. We can never compare. But it's really key that, that's a big thing. It was I couldn't imagine my life. My life has changed so much drastically as a result of that. And so I was more than happy. So
that's
all
fantastic.
the listeners, I would definitely say, get any help you can. It's definitely beneficial. And mentors helped me early on when I didn't have them.
Yes, absolutely. And or a mentor, exactly. Whatever that is, find someone. I love that you bring up self-sabotage, because we are our own worst enemies. Are we not? Are we not? And so it often does come down to that self-sabotage. And then when you can realize the purpose of your self-sabotage, because there's always a purpose. We don't like to say that there's a purpose. Well, there's no purpose to me self-sabotaging myself. However, when you go deeper and you can understand the purpose of your self-sabotage, then everything can click into place and make sense. And then you can, like you said, it's not that we don't ever do it again. It's we can recognize it, we can get out of it faster, we can move forward, and it's the tools, right? It's having the tools. So, fabulous. Okay. Okay, so for you, what are your goals in life and business moving forward? I mean, you've talked about here, you've been in business working for 30 years.
Yeah,
So,
I love the company.
so
The company I work for now is great because it's a consultant company almost, because we work for companies A to Z, right? So every day I could be in a legal environment, I could be in a warehouse environment, I could be in pharmaceuticals, I could be in hospitals.
oh,
We
nice.
do all right. So for me,
Yeah.
people have different paths. People like the entrepreneur path. I chose this path, and it
Uh-huh.
satisfies me. And everyone's different. But for me personally, we have learning and development and safety. My goal is to make that a revenue generator, hopefully one day for the company. That's something that I would love to be able to help out and see how we can do that. We use it as a value add, but our safety systems are very, very good. The other thing is, I'd love to be able to write a book one
Mhm.
day about, one of the things that I always talk about sticky is years ago, I've created around sales, people development, really about people development, mostly because learning and growing, that's where my wheelhouse is people development. We focus on coaching. All that is important, but we don't teach you how to do the job, which is identifying talent, onboarding talent, managing for performance, managing for results, developing your employees and recognizing and then leveraging your talent, right? So that has those models that I have built. I always love going into companies and being able to help. And that's why I like this job, because we partner with our clients to be able to do that. And then for me personally is also just to give back. I got kids that are growing up and that are starting their career. I love helping others within my organization continue to learn and grow and get to the next level. It goes back to that conversation where my leader talked to me about being a doer being a leader.
Yeah. Yes. Can we go back to your book for 1 second?
Oh, I would love
Just
yeah.
1 second. Is it in the works? Is it at least like journaling
It's
right now?
journal, yeah.
Excellent.
It's an outline. I mean, I do have the things written down. It's just a matter of really just getting down and doing it. So maybe I need a coach again to do
Yeah, I understand. I'm in the process of writing mine also. So Ken and I putting it out there that at some point we have books coming out. I know that I would like mine to be out by the end of the year. I'm not sure what your deadline is, but it's definitely, it's a big thing to write it and to put it out there. You know what I mean?
That's what I put it out there. So now my kids will be telling me I have to do it now. So
yes, for sure. Yes, excellent. Okay, so what is an accomplishment that you'd like to share that you're really proud of?
I think it's really coming full circle. That in life, everyone has the ability to learn and grow. Some people have more challenges than others, but just looking at me, never being a 2.0 student, being always injured, being lost and taking a little longer than most people, and then finding myself. And so for me, that's why I always go back. We would have a good laugh with my mom is helping that. And for me, I like giving back. And if I can make one impact one person, with our training programs, there's nothing better for me personally than to see someone individual. I love helping line people, like talent and everyone get to the next level of their career, seeing them move up the ranks, be better than me, be higher and grow. That's the most rewarding thing. And I always tell my kids that, you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it, but also take action. Right. So there's the accountability action, and some people need that accountability, someone else keeping you accountable, and some people can do it on their own. But that, for me personally, is coming full circle, is really being able, it's my tagline, helping people learn, grow, and win, and be safe. Now be safe while doing it. That's what I'm most proud of, is that, I was able, and if it wasn't for other people helping me throughout my career and early life, for me, I'm just an average person. I think we all have the opportunity to make an impact. And so if I can make my impact in my little piece of the world, that makes me feel that I fulfilled my purpose and my passion every day.
I think what's so great about you, Ken, is that, and this is me knowing you at such a small little level, right? Just very briefly and whatnot, is that hearing just the story of overcoming, right? Of overcoming that, because you truly could have gone, like many people do, could have gone through your whole life of going, well, I just wasn't a good student. Like I just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? But instead you overcame the challenges, you found ways to be successful. And for you, that was through the, finding mentors and having, looking for those, getting the help that you needed. And I feel like for you also, you seem just like a positive, happy person. And I don't know if you've always been that way or if that came along through the coaching and the therapy and all of that, but you just seem like a joy and happy to be around. And, I imagine the meetings that you run are always fun because you're just a happy. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that Ken's always smiling. If you're listening to it, I hope you can just hear how he has the smile and the joy in his voice.
Yeah, no, it is. And you know what? I learned that from my mom. My mom was a single mom, tough mom, but she always had a smile on her face. And, I remember learning that we were on Section 8 housing. Like, I didn't know that until she was deceased. Someone told me at a party one time. I'm like, I didn't even know that. I felt like I had everything. So I have the example of my mother being that person in my life that no matter what you go through, you can always have a smile on your face.
Yes.
So that was really key in my development. So you try to do that, and and life throws you watermelons and lemons and whatever else it throws at you.
You make fruit salad.
You make fruit salad. Yeah, it is. It's been a fun ride. I still laugh at it every day. Even my brother and I joke about it. So it's an interesting story.
I always feel like, just in general, like we have to be able to laugh at ourselves. We have to be, and I find myself sometimes that I can be a serious person, right? And sometimes I have to go, hang on, sister, like you just got to laugh at yourself because this is funny. Like this is just funny. So just take a minute, laugh. And, and I feel like sometimes I can be drawn to people that are like funny and laughing because I know that I need more of that in my life, right? Like sometimes we're just drawn to that because we need more of that. And luckily I have a son who is hysterical. He is the one-liner of one-liners. And interestingly enough, we named him Isaac, and Isaac means laughter.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So, okay. So Ken, where would you like the listeners to, can they connect with you on LinkedIn or?
Yeah, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I post pretty much daily on safety, training, development, leadership. Mostly I like to focus on frontline managers and safety because again, I want to help those people move up in the world.
Yes.
And they're the people that are our culture, that create the culture, right? We drive it down from the top, but it's the people day in and day out. So connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm there. I'm always willing to reach out and connect. This is how Kelly and I met. And, it's a great way to, LinkedIn's come a long way.
Yes.
So it's more of a community. I can't tell you how many meetings I've had with people from LinkedIn. And it's just a joy to be able to connect with people and learn and grow with them.
It really is. It's so great because, after our conversation, then I saw something and I, messaged it to you. It's just such a great way to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, I should send this to Ken. And but like you just meet people. And I think that's such a great thing about, all the different things about technology. And when you talk about the different platforms of social media and things like that, sometimes it can get sticky. And yet, then at the same time, it's things like this that make it just so worthwhile. So worthwhile.
Yeah, and it is. And I think what's exciting is the younger generation is getting involved with LinkedIn.
Yes.
And we're all involved, and it's just it's become a community of helping everybody out. And so it's a lot different than it was when I first started using it.
Yeah.
So yes, please reach out to me.
Awesome. And we'll put that information in the show notes as well. So Ken, I want to thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom on all the tips that you provided and your story as well. Just being so honest and transparent about your story that led you to where you are. And it's just been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the opportunity. grateful for it, and look forward to listening to more. I sent you a note on some of the podcasts I listened to about what I took away. So it's always nice to hear. It's a great thing that you do. So I'm going to say thank you to you, because it's a great thing from doing everyday people, entrepreneurs or business people, because it's life, right? And we all can learn each other, something from each other. So I find value in what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. For my listeners, thank you for listening this week. I would love for you to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you download, share, comment, and really send this to anybody that you feel like definitely is in the safety field and also loves leadership, because Ken loves some leadership and he's always posting about that. So share that, and I will see you back next week with another episode of Winning in Business. Have a great one and rise up and live.
Thank you for being a part of the Winning in Business podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to rise up to your next level of success, but are worried about increased stress, time for work and yourself and your family, not to mention being exhausted, I'd like to invite you to a complimentary strategy call where I'll show you how you can do it all. I'll help you reclaim time, keep your sanity, handle the chaos with ease, and move to the next level of success that you deserve and desire. I hope you found value in listening today. Please always leave your comments, feedback, or questions. We check them all. I want you to continue winning in business and reach your next level of success. See you next time.